Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain Tori Girl. This movie tells the story of a girl named Yukina Toriyama who has just entered a science university, preparing for more than a year to enter the university. Yukina, who is initially shocked by the atmosphere on campus, is attracted to a senior student named Kei Takahashi, who then recruits her to join a club that focuses on human-powered flight control. The club targets the Tori Ninja contest, and Yukina wants to partner with Kei to fly in the sky, but she is partnered with Taishi Sakaba, who she doesn't like. Will Yukina get Kei as her boyfriend in the end? Let's find out at Tori Girl. Tori Girl begins with a girl named Yukina Toriyama riding a bus to her campus. Yukina was very surprised to find many young men wearing glasses and plainclothes who had boarded the same bus as her. Because she felt uncomfortable with the conditions on the crowded bus, she decided to get off the bus. Yukina then saw a young man riding his bicycle at high speed who could even race the bus with ease. She was immediately taken aback by the youth's abilities and wondered who he was. Arriving at a campus, Yukina was again surprised that many young men were wearing glasses and wearing plaid clothes on campus. In class, Yukina gets acquainted with a girl named Kazumi Shimamura. They are both the only students in the class. Yukina and Kazumi soon became close and became friends. Yukina then tells Kazumi that she was forced to enter the university because she failed the entrance exam for another campus. While having fun, they were approached by two young men who belonged to the Human-Powered Flight Club, who intended to recruit them. Yukina had no interest in joining the club. Still, Kazumi said that visiting the university was because she wanted to join the Human-Powered Flight Club. Because Kazumi looks so excited to join the club, Yukina agrees to accept Kazumi's invitation to take a look at the Human-Powered Flight Club base camp. Yukina saw the club members look very serious in carrying out their respective duties there. Yukina and Kazumi then meet a man named Para, who seems well aware of the ins and outs of the club and describes it to them both in the style of a poet. However, what makes Yukina interested in joining the club is a young man named Kei Takahashi, who is none other than the club chairman. Seeing the arrival of the prospective members of his club, Kei approached Yukina and Kazumi. Then openly assessed and praised Yukina's beautiful body shape, which he considered pretty ideal and qualified to join his club. Kei also asked her to join his club, and without thinking, Yukina agreed. Because the club's goal is to fly an airplane with human power, one of the requirements to join the club is to have good strength and physical endurance. After joining, club members also have to carry out physical exercise and a strict diet to maintain their ideal weight. As it turned out, Yukina was able to do this physical exercise because she used to ride a bicycle that weighed 20 kilograms during her 3 years in middle school. Kazumi tells Yukina that in the club, there is a pilot who is highly trained to fly planes and also has solid physical endurance named Taishi Sakaba. However, Sakaba suddenly was never seen again in the club or on campus after the incident. One day, Kei accompanies Yukina, who wants to buy a bicycle. Since then, Yukina has always gone to campus by riding her bike. She seemed so excited. But after seeing the other club members who seemed so focused and determined to achieve their goal to win the Tori Ninja contest, Yukina became even more excited. She finally decides to join the pilot team and accompany Kei to participate in the contest. Yukina then began to undergo training with Kei, starting from physical exercise by actively cycling and eating nutritious food. Yukina eventually learns that their goal in the contest is to see Todoroki Jiro's Takei Island, a mystical island believed to be in the middle of Lake Biwa. Which says no one has seen it yet. That night, Kei invites Yukina to meet Sakaba, who is in a tavern. Since their first meeting, Yukina has felt that Sakaba is like a delinquent. Significantly after, Sakaba underestimated her, who was appointed to be a pilot just like himself. Yukina then replied by mentioning Sakaba's passion for reading comics, so that a fight between the two of them was inevitable. The next day, Sakaba finally decides to rejoin the club. His arrival at the training ground looks like a gangster leader in action movies. Sakaba briefly glared at Yukina before challenging Kei to a fight in speed. Reuniting with Sakaba made Yukina feel irritated because he still underestimated her. After that, Para told Yukina that Sakaba and Kei had entered a contest the year before. They failed the competition, and the plane they were flying fell into the water. The incident traumatized Sakaba when he was in the water, so he decided to break from the club. Hearing this, Yukina didn't sympathize but was happy that she finally found out about Sakaba's weakness. Para told Yukina that Sakaba was the best pilot they ever had because his abilities and physical endurance were unrivaled until now. Not long after, Kei and the human-powered flight club members will conduct a test run on the plane they plan to fly during the contest. However, Yukina has engrossed in karaoke alone until she finally heard about the trial and rushed off to the runway. Upon arrival, Yukina was utterly amazed by the performance and cooperation of the other club members so that they could build an airplane that was sufficiently airworthy to fly and qualify for the contest. Yukina, Kazumi, and the other club members looked so happy when Kei and Sakaba managed to fly the plane in a test session. However, this happiness did not last long because suddenly, the plane seemed out of control before crashing and causing Kei to injure his leg seriously. After undergoing intensive treatment at the hospital, the doctor told Kei that it would take a long time for him to recover fully. Everyone feels very sad about what happened to Kei, especially Sakaba, who also feels guilty and thinks that he is the cause of the incident. After meeting Sakaba at the tavern, Yukina finally realizes that Sakaba blamed himself for their failure last year. Sakaba could not maintain his weight, causing the plane to become unstable. Despite not liking Sakaba, even hating him, Yukina still asks him not to give up easily and despair because they still have a chance to win the contest. Sakaba then asked Yukina to accompany him for a drink. Yukina became drunk and was eventually brought home by Sakaba. It was clear that Sakaba started to like Yukina after she encouraged him and agreed to accompany him that night. A few days later, Kei, discharged from the hospital, decides to go to campus and attend an important meeting of his club, where Sakaba then reveals that he will fly a plane with Yukina. At first, the other club members rejected the idea because Yukina wasn't experienced enough. However, Kei agrees with Sakaba's idea, so Yukina officially decides to become the pilot who will accompany Sakaba in the Tori Ninja contest. Yukina couldn't help but agree to this because she didn't want to disappoint Kei. Yukina and Sakaba began to practice diligently together, although quarrels always arise and are inevitable. However, these rivalries and fights make them more active and enthusiastic. Sakaba is also trying to overcome the trauma and fear of being in the water. Kazumi seems to be secretly always watching Sakaba. It turns out that she does harbor feelings of love for Sakaba. On the other hand, Kei realizes that Sakaba and Yukina are compatible, even though the two always fight and never get along. The other club members also recognize that Sakaba and Yukina like each other, even though their traits and personalities appear to be opposite. Yukina and Sakaba train hard every day to prepare for the contest. One day, Yukina and Sakaba were doing a bicycle race for practice. Sakaba showed Yukina his incomparable abilities, so she was wholly exhausted because she didn't want to lose. Sakaba then returned, not to help Yukina, but to take her bicycle, and after that, left her alone. An annoyed Yukina then asked Kazumi to come to pick her up. Arriving at the house, Yukina looks very surprised after finding her bicycle in the parking lot and locked using Sakaba's bicycle lock. It turned out that the young man riding a bicycle who fascinated her the first time she came to her campus was Sakaba. Before entering the contest, Sakaba and Yukina test fly the plane once again. But because Yukina and Sakaba keep fighting, the trial session ends in chaos and Sakaba gets into an argument with the other club members. Later on, Kazumi came to Sakaba, who was swimming, and intended to cheer him on before the contest started. Judging by Kazumi's attitude, Sakaba realized that Kazumi liked him. The day before the contest began, Sakaba invited Yukina to relax to not be stressed and nervous before the contest. Everyone already knows that Sakaba likes Yukina, including Kazumi. But Yukina is entirely unaware of Sakaba's feelings for her, and she still likes Kei. The Tori Ninja contest has finally begun. Everyone seems so enthusiastic about watching the annual contest. The other participants have failed, and now it's Sakaba and Yukina's turn to show the results of their hard work and the entire team who helped them win the contest. Even though he was a little nervous at first, Sakaba tried his best not to repeat last year's mistakes. And, of course, with the encouragement of Yukina, who was sitting behind him. With great enthusiasm and determination to win, Sakaba and Yukina can finally fly the plane and finally see the mystical island that has been the contest's goal. The club members seemed very happy about their success, including Kei, Kazumi, and Para. Because they finally managed to fly the plane and reach their destination all along. Sakaba then expressed his love for Yukina No matter if everyone heard the declaration of his love, because the contest was broadcast live and the participants used microphones. However, Sakaba's declaration of love was then rejected by Yukina, who said that he was not her ideal type of man. Due to Yukina's refusal, Sakaba becomes a little out of control and nearly crashes the plane. But then, Sakaba, knowing that Yukina likes Kei, tells her that Kei already has a girlfriend, namely a girl with glasses who is always by his side. Then, Yukina becomes annoyed and jealous, causing the two to get into a big fight. However, Sakaba and Yukina could fly their plane safely and under control again because of that quarrel. They even reached their landing site in no time and were declared the victors. Everyone welcomed Sakaba and Yukina's victory, accompanied by a dramatic declaration of love. In the end, it was rejected. Kei, Kazumi, and the rest of the club members welcomed Sakaba and Yukina and celebrated their victories and hard work with joy. Sakaba and Yukina also seemed happy and didn't mind the declaration of love that Sakaba had expressed. Despite not being a couple and Yukina rejecting his love, Sakaba doesn't seem to manage it, and they can have fun together. The moral that can be learned from this film is that sometimes true love is present in long debates and fights. We often don't realize that the people who constantly fight and argue with us are people who genuinely care and love us.